Hey, and welcome to Unlearning Stress, the podcast where we break the rules and cycles that keep you overcommitted, overstretched, and just plain exhausted, and replace them with something better. No fluff, no guilt, just real talk, real solutions, and expert insights to help you shift the way you live. Whether you're here for the first time or you've been with me for a while, you're in the right place. I'm Mischelle O'Neill, your resident emotional wellness coach, and I'm here to help you unlearn the patterns that are wearing you down so you can live with more ease, clarity, and control. Let's get to it. Have you ever been in a situation where you've taken in so much information because you feel that you want to be prepared and know what's going on around you, but that you've taken in so much information that you're starting to not trust yourself and what you know and what's true? And what's hardest isn't that you don't have the information, is that you have so much of it that you start questioning your own honesty. You wonder if, am I seeing this clearly? Or am I twisting it? Or do I have the right perspective? Am I naming this for what it is? Is this real? Or am I just avoiding dealing with parts of it that aren't comfortable or that hurt for me? And before you even notice it, you're not just questioning your decision, you're actually questioning your own integrity. You start desecrating your own clarity and you pick apart your knowing like it's suspect. You audit your voice like it's on trial, and you treat your hard earned wisdom that you've earned through experience, through life, through schooling, through knowledge. But you treat that hard earned wisdom like it needs a permission slip. You're grown. You don't need that permission slip. And that zone of genius that you have that used to feel so solid, you knew, that knowing suddenly feels slippery. Like maybe you were never that clear. Like maybe you missed something. Like maybe your knowing, that knowing that used to feel so good isn't enough. And what I'm talking about, these feelings, these doubts, they're real. What it is that cognitive overload is a documented condition. When your brain is oversaturated with input, what happens is your prefrontal cortex, that decision making center, that amazing center there, starts to short circuit, which means that the more information that you take in, the harder it becomes to access trust, to access that clarity and that internal stability. So, no, this isn't you being dramatic. This is your nervous system trying to process too many tabs that open at once. You know what I'm talking about. And what gets lost in that flood of information, that overload, is you. You lean on people and you start to lean on programs. You're looking for something, anything that will validate what you already know, but you no longer trust it. And one of the first signs that you've started disqualifying your own clarity is when every decision starts coming with a disclaimer. You know, things like, I've been thinking about this. What do you think? Or what about? I'm wondering if I'm seeing this right, if I'm on track. Or what about, does this sound right to you? You float it in group chats. Hey, what do you think? You casually mention it in your voice notes. I was thinking about this. You ask someone to check your logic, your language, your line of thought, because you just want to make sure. But what you're really asking is, am I allowed to trust this? The words change, the packaging changes, but underneath every ask is the same ache. I don't know if what I'm sensing is real. And so instead of leading from discernment, what you think you're leading from, you lead from agreement. You build safety in numbers, not stability in your knowing. The more people who agree with you, then it must be right, right? You become obsessed with alignment, not authenticity. And this is one of the few times that you will hear me talk about alignment in a negative sense, because this alignment isn't a healthy alignment. This alignment isn't built on truth. And so the people around you, they don't even know you're bleeding because you sound so clear. And now it's not just the people, it's the programs. You're not just checking in with your best friend. You've got this new best friend, right? You're checking in with Chat GPT. You're asking AI to tell you if you're making the right call. What's the best way forward? What do you think? What's the smartest path? Here's what I'm thinking. What do you think? And the truth is, you believe that the system knows better than you do. That machine thinks clearer. That algorithm sees more angles. So your knowing gets reduced to a draft for approval. And this is where I want to call it out clearly to you. Because what you're doing in those moments, I'm sorry to say, it's not discernment. It's what's called emotional surveillance. And it tends to show up in three ways, and usually in some fashion, all three together. And the first one is informational surveillance. And that's when you consume more and more content, read more books, do more AI conversations, do more Google research, do those hot takes, checking the reels, scrolling through the shorts, finding more information, more cliff notes, if you want to call it that. Believing more input equals more clarity. But instead, it just inflames your uncertainty. You don't feel more grounded. You actually feel more split. And then there's relational surveillance. This is when you run your thoughts by friends, coaches, the group chat, even strangers online. They comment on your post and you take in what they say as truth. And I'm not saying that asking your friends, listening to your coaches is a bad thing. I'm asking you, are you doing it all the time? Are you questioning yourself? Because you don't ask because you're unclear. You're asking because you want validation, agreement that allows you to feel safe. And finally, the most dangerous is internal surveillance. This is the quietest and the cruelest. It's when you constantly audit your own thoughts. You replay conversations. You question your motives. You monitor your tone. You're watching yourself instead of being yourself. And all three of these on their own, they might seem small. It's just what you do. But together, they erode your clarity from the inside out. Not because you're unclear, but because you're trying to feel safe instead of whole. AI becomes your thought partner. Google becomes your gut check. The group chat becomes your conscience. And now you're standing 3 feet outside of yourself, watching, monitoring, editing, and not trusting, not moving. And if you're honest, the silence that you're searching for isn't silence at all. It really is a type of permission. And what we're talking about is what research calls externalized decision dependency. And it's real. And I think you need to know, yeah, it is a thing. And according to behavioral psychology, when we're overloaded with input, we begin to defer critical thinking to others or other things, especially to perceived experts. Did you catch that? Perceived experts or smart systems. The brain prioritizes certainty over authenticity. It's a survival response. But what that means emotionally is that you slowly start to believe I can't trust anything that starts with me. And if you're wondering why this all feels so heavy, I want to ground it in something real. There's a reason clarity starts slipping the more information that you take in. Because according to science, neuroscience, when your brain is flooded with input, the part of your brain that's responsible for discernment and decision making starts to short circuit. So you'll know you're not crazy. It really is something happening. And it's not about willpower. It's really about your bandwidth. with. Your fear and threat detection system kicks up, and suddenly, even those neutral decisions, ones that shouldn't even be that big, something that you should really have to think that hard on, feels emotionally loaded. You're trying to be wise, but your nervous system is just trying to find a way to get through this. That's why clarity and fear cannot coexist in the same moment. One has to bow to the other. Which will it be for you? So, this isn't about you not knowing. It's about your system being so overwhelmed to access what you already know. And you can always tell when you've started outsourcing your voice because you start proving yourself. The way you talk change. The way you enter a room changes. The way you present your thoughts start to carry this undertone of, I have a right to be here. I have a right to say this. You're not just sharing, you're actually submitting a case file with everything you say, and you start adding receipts to everything. Little validations, little references, subtle disclaimers, because you're proving that you know what you're talking about. And you wrap your clarity in these buffers so that nobody can question it, because deep down, you are already questioning it yourself. And that's so exhausting. Because now, instead of being in the moment, you're managing the moment. You're trying to preempt disapproval. You're performing certainty instead of walking in it. And maybe, if we're honest, not maybe, if we're honest, we've all done this. We've all had that moment where we're not just speaking from our gut, we're layering in invisible citations. I know what I'm talking about, right? I belong here, right? You're not loud, but you are loud in your head. And that noise will shrink you faster than failure ever could. Because now your presence isn't rooted in peace, it's built on proof. Yeah, that's it. There comes a point when there's a break. The moment that that cycle loses its power, not because you figured it out, not because you're doing the right thing, but because you decided to stop betraying your own knowing. I want to give that moment back to you now in your voice with the weight and clarity that it carries. There's always a moment, not a dramatic one that sometimes it shows up as just a breath. You take it in and you let out this deep sigh. And something inside of you says, no more. I'm done. I can't keep doing this. I'm not going to keep doing this. You've hit that point. And it's when the mirror is placed in front of you, when you see yourself, when you reflect back on yourself, It's real. Because you see yourself and you look yourself in the eye and you say, you know what? I know. I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm sensing. I know what I've discerned. And from this point forward, no voice, no comment, no system, no input is going to make me question what I know I know. And you know what? Sure, I may add to it. I may refine it. I may deepen it. But I am not desecrating it anymore because clarity doesn't require confirmation. It requires courage. And I'm stepping in that courage right now. I need you to know this. This may not be the last time this pattern shows up. This habit of second guessing, of outsourcing, of turning your knowing into a performance, it may knock again. Not because something's wrong with you, not because you're failing, but because this was trained into you. And undoing this isn't a one-time decision. I wish. But the good news is, every time it shows up, you'll see it sooner. You will name it faster. And you'll trust yourself longer. And one day it won't even make it past the door. That's not the work. It's not about arriving, but it's about returning again and again until doubt no longer feels like safety. And look, if this pulls something out of you, if you're ready to come back to what you know, you know, you know. And if my words sound like something that I've said before, it's because I have. And so I want you to DM me the word reset. That's it. No funnel, no applause, no performance. I just want to help you back to the first step of you. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye. If this episode hits home, don't just push it aside. Lean into it. Subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And connect with me on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Substack, where we go even deeper. Links will be in the comments. And if you're ready to start unlearning the patterns that keep you stuck, keep listening, because real change happens one choice at a time. I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.